It's now time for us to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world. Of course, we start here at home with This Day newspaper, our newspaper of record, which is leading with that story that we've already dissected. FG to Chinese firm, our jets are sovereign assets immune from any seizure. Of course, that is the response as it was shared by Bayo Onanuga, speaking on this ongoing controversy that we all hope will be resolved very soon, especially for the sake of saving Nigeria's international brand. Now, just above that, there's a reportage on Mele Kyari. It says how Mele Kyari rescued Nigeria, increased oil production by 60,000 barrels per day. So this report details how, despite harsh criticism, the group CEO of NNPCL has worked hard to improve Nigeria's daily crude production and tries to look at the positive sides of his tenure in office, as opposed to the controversy that has been trailing the NNPCL for so many years. So that's that. But just below the masthead, it's a small line, but it's a big story. The NJC recommends Kudirat Kekere-Ekun as CJN. So that's a big one. I always dance. It's an exciting one because we always love to see women, taking charge and getting into office. So I hope that's one we'll be able to discuss. So congratulations to Kudirat Kekere-Ekun. Now let's move to Punch newspaper. And of course, we can't run away from it. This is the biggest story undoubtedly in Nigeria today. Punch says Chinese firm targets Nigeria assets in 8 countries and the presidency vows to protect jets. Everybody continues to deep dive into this. Punch also reiterates the fact that this judgment was that these assets, was awarded, the judgment, was awarded in the UK, US, and other nations. And above the masthead is a review of inflation. Of course, the new numbers came in yesterday from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, and this report says that the harvest season reduces food inflation to 39.5%. So that's an interesting conversation to have because some will be saying the monetary policies and the rate increases from CBN have reduced inflation. However, this report is saying it's the harvest season that has reduced food inflation to 39.5%. Interesting debate for us to have a little bit later on. Now to Vanguard. Vanguard, of course, still leading with that same story. Federal government, Ogun government battle to recover seized presidential jets. There's also an image of President Tinubu as he is in Equatorial Guinea with President Ngema as he signs the pipeline project deal for the Gulf of Guinea pipeline, which is said to be a revolutionary deal between the two countries for the exchange of gas via the pipeline. Now we move to the Daily Trust. Daily Trust is leading with the current fuel situation in the country. It says petrol pump price nears 1,000 naira per litre in FCT, states supply on and off nationwide, and the CSOs knock NNPCL. And in all of this, the national oil company is silent. So we're still waiting to hear. Speculation is rife as to what is the cause of the sudden increase and epileptic supply of fuel across the nation. Also, Daily Trust, NEMA has issued a flood warning for 3.7 million Kano residents as 362 communities are at risk of being affected by floods that are said to be coming into the region. And now another story, it's in a smaller corner there, but still quite a big conversation that has been happening. It says APC dismisses claims of Ganduje's replacement, fixes September 12 for NEC meeting for the NEC meeting. So, of course, there has been a lot of conversation about the political future of the APC chairman, Abdullahi Ganduje, with some even going as far as reporting that he's been offered a diplomatic post by the president. So APC is saying that all of those claims are to be dismissed. Now to the New Telegraph. New Telegraph is leading with a story that we have already touched on briefly, which is Mpox. It says Mpox, NCDC places Lagos, Abuja, others on red alert as Nigeria records 39 cases. So, of course, we just touched the story where the first case has been identified in Sweden. Nigeria is now sitting at 39 cases. And we know that even though this number may seem small, where these types of highly contagious diseases are concerned, there's no such thing as a small number, because you know that at any moment that trajectory can change drastically. Another story from the New Telegraph is focusing on the NLC. So the NLC is threatening to strike if the FG and police fail to apologize for raiding their offices. And they're saying they also want the FG and the police to produce proof of their links or alleged links to terrorists that was the reason for that raid on their offices. So they're saying if they don't get this apology from the police and from the federal government, then they are ready to strike because they feel that their rights have been infringed upon as a union. All right, let's take a look at some African newspapers. We start in South Africa with The Citizen. The Citizen South Africa looking at a big shift in South African opposition politics that took place yesterday as Floyd jumps sinking ship, ? Floyd Shivambu, the vice president of the EFF, he deputizes Julius Malema, yesterday offered his resignation from the party and is jumping ship to Jacob Zuma's MK party. So a lot of speculation rife about some people are saying he got fed up with being Julius Malema's shadow. Some people are saying he's been offered a juicier package from the MK party. Whatever the motivation is, this is certainly a big shift in the dynamic of South African politics, as Floyd Shivambu is a central opposition figure. To Zimbabwe, we look at the Herald newspaper. The focus on the Herald is the Southern African Development Community Summit, which will be kicking off tomorrow, and leaders from across the entire region are flying into Zimbabwe today. Of course, we know that SADC is the Southern African equivalent of ECOWAS, so this is quite a big summit. Massive investments have been made in Zimbabwe to accommodate all of the regional leaders who are coming in. Yesterday, we saw Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan jetting into the country. The rest of the leaders expected to come in today for that summit. Now, internationally, to New York Times. New York Times is focusing on the state of affairs in the Democrat Party. It said Biden felt he could win, but the cost was too dear. In final hours, President came to see risk of tearing the Democratic Party apart. So deep dive into the current people dynamics and power plays happening in the Democrat Party, and especially what happened. I believe more information will be revealed as time goes as to what really transpired behind the scenes in those last moments when President Joe Biden relinquished the ticket for the next presidency. To the Daily Mail in UK, where the focus is on economic issues, the headline, "So much for an economic crisis." Now, this is a report on how Chancellor Rachel Reeves has come under fire since last night she claimed that the UK economy is in the worst shape it's been since the Second World War, and blamed the Tories and said that the Labour Party has inherited an absolutely horrific economy. The Tories have swung in with statistics and told her that no, she's absolutely wrong on that, that the economy is doing just fine according to their own analysis. So that's a roundup of some of the top headlines, newspapers from all around the world. Rufai, Ayo, over to you. What tickles your fancy?
So a couple of stories that, like your words, very apt, tickles my fancies. Number one, the back and forth between the manufacturers and government, as regards many challenges. One, electricity tariff. And the argument that some discos are making that, hey, our tariffs are one of the cheapest in the West African region. Why is that so? Because we devalued. I think we forget a lot that we had a devaluation of our currency in the conversation. But most importantly, how many people now have access to making that level of capital gains at an economy that is reeling from over 30% inflation? Economy that is at an all-time low. Because when you look at the parameters, they are not good. You devalue the currency by 100, you remove most of the subsidies and things like that. The only cushioning effect is taken away. Food inflation is still 39%, despite the fact that, okay, we had a drop from 40%. What is food inflation in Kenya that is causing all the fights? 7%. So we need to be able to understand this. And I know the discos are going to be quick to say they are also doing the business, that they should meet them halfway. And that's where the government should come and tell us where they're going to meet both parties halfway. We can't keep suffering our manufacturers. And at a time we're hearing governments are trying to buy planes that they have kidnapped now because of court judgments. So we must be able to balance this economy. It's not balanced at all. So that really catches my fancy. And you were very apt. I've been going through the book. Sorry, you might see me reading the book while we're on air. Truth is, we don't have enough infrastructure, health-wise. Most of the gains we thought we had made during COVID has been lost to corruption. We've not had an important holistic evaluation of what happened during COVID and how those monies were spent.
All right.
So we should be ready for MPOX.
Okay, I'm going to talk about MPOX quickly because Dr. Jide Idris, the Director General of NCDC, has come out to give a full briefing as it pertains to Nigeria. And you saw the headline, the cover story of New Telegraph, where it talks about some states put on red alert, including Lagos, Abuja, as you would imagine, high density states and very populous in terms of traffic, the frequency of traffic from people from around the world, very important. He's mentioned that whilst they've been put on red alert, also the airports, they started contact tracing for those who've been in contact with people who have currently contracted MPOX and have tested positive for MPOX. Also gave some advisory and so that Nigerians don't panic. Because, when people hear this, the panic can set in, that there are protocols they have put in place to be able to handle this, including ensuring that there's public information, public advisory, and setting up structures to ensure that anyone who is currently infected with MPOX is looked after, and then they can also trace. I think very importantly is to look at the food that we eat, because apparently it can also be gotten from contaminated animals. And we know we eat all kinds of animals in Nigeria, so make sure it's well cooked. It can also be transmitted by, like I said earlier, being in contact with someone who is infected. The symptoms present like many viral infections, but a rash is also included. So if you notice any unusual rash, please don't panic. Just go and see a doctor and ensure that you let them know why you're coming, so you don't come in close contact with people. And then congratulations, I must say, to Justice Kudirat Kekere-Ekun. She's not just the second female, she's going to be the second female Chief Justice of Nigeria, but she's also Lagosian. She's from the center of excellence, the city of aquatic splendor, and we're looking forward to a truly justice, is the word justice, justice at its highest level, and making women proud. I'm sorry to put you on that pressure, but also ensuring that her tenure is successful. Congratulations, Madam, we look forward. And congratulations to Justice Ariwola, who next week, Thursday, will bow out as the Chief Justice of Nigeria when he turns 70.